we'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just say, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. I mean, first NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, that's just so cool to see. And it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccateers in the house tonight. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, hey, nothing's happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCann, and still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on, and then can I make it do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccateers, a wide receiver, Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccateers. You're tapped in, and here we go. Welcome back to a Mancave Monday. It's been a while. Hope everybody had a great holiday season. Not the season we hoped of the holidays for our Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were not left with any presents under the Christmas tree, but instead some lumps of coal that they had to dismantle on their coaching staff as they try and patch it up with some new toys in the year 2026. They're giving Todd Bowles one last go at a thing, and there's a lot of offensive coordinator candidates to be had out there. And so far, the Bucs have a pool of non-interesting ones that we'll get into here a little bit, and a lot about memorabilia, a lot about Mancaves, value of jerseys, and so much more with my guy, Bucs By 30, the great Zack Johnson. Zack, welcome back, brother. Happy New Year. Hope all is well, my friend.
Happy New Year. Good to be back. Good to be back, especially off of a weekend of great football, with the exception of the Chargers and Pats was a little bit of a dud compared to what we were served up before that. But a great weekend overall, and hopefully we get another good one tonight.
Yeah, I hope so. And Pittsburgh is ready for battle with Houston on Monday Night Football. Only 2 Monday Night Football games left, this one and then the national championship next week in the world of college football. So tonight should be fun. I like Pittsburgh's chances. I don't think many people are taking him to heart enough. And I think Aaron Rodgers and the great Zach Frazier, Mike Tomlin, and the rest of the guys go out there, and I think they upset the world and just enjoy football. We don't have a lot left, and as Zach says, it's been great, whether you're a college fan, an NFL fan, really outside the Patriots game and outside the Indiana game, we have a lot of great football the past couple of weeks. So it's been a treat. And Virgin Boys chimes in saying, now that I know Todd is staying, I can just lower my standards next year so I won't be disappointed to miss the playoffs. Yes, expectations is a better word. I was going to say, just because you don't like the head coach, don't let the team get away with not making the playoffs. Don't lower your standards. We still hold this team to the standard of they should make the playoffs, right? Expectations is different. I could get why maybe you're not expecting it with that. But Zach, we could fix things to me in the stroke of a pen by hiring the right offensive coordinator. And I think me and you have our eyes on the same guy, and he's been floated around a little bit, mainly by Jeff Darlington, a little bit by a Backstreet Boy or Jonas Brother, whoever the hell the other one is. And then you got a couple of other, podcasts and people talking about him as well. Mike McDaniel. And to me, Zach, that is by far the best choice for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator job for 2026. I just think it's a perfect fit with an aging Bowles, a defensive-minded Bowles. A, you get some youth in there with McDaniel, and B, you get a potential next head coach in there with McDaniel, and C, it wasn't far off that this guy was Ben Johnson, that this guy was Liam Cohen, that this guy was literally the next big thing. They hung up 70 on Denver the same weekend in 2023 when we lost to the Eagles on Monday Night Football. They hung up on 70 on Denver that weekend, and Zach, I would be ecstatic, but it's weird. It's like something, he hasn't been mentioned of a lined-up interview with the Bucs, but at the same time, there is a little smoke around Mike McDaniel to Tampa.
Absolutely. It would be the perfect candidate, in my opinion. When you're talking creativity in the offensive game, just look at the value he took. I mean, A-Chain wasn't even nobody knew who A-Chain was when McDaniel got there, and he made him into one of the best backs, if not the best back, arguably, in the league. So just imagine what he could do with a Bucky Irving. We got to talk about how amazing he would probably look in a pair of creamsicle capri pants, right? Like, let's not lose sight of that, because that would probably be amazing. But if you look at what he did in 23 with the Dolphins and that offense, they were number one in the rushing yards per game. They were number one in passing yards per game, and they were number two overall scoring offense in the NFL. And they had fallen off in 24 and in 25, but you got to factor in 24, I believe, is the year that Tua had all those concussion issues, and they were kind of playing quarterback roulette a little bit. Then this year, a little bit more injuries with Tua. You lost Tyreek early, so that really kind of takes a chunk out of what you're able to do offensively. But even, he coached up Quinn Ewers to beat us in Week 17. So a lot of positives with McDaniel as an OC. I think when you're talking OC candidates, he's head and shoulders above whatever else is available out there.
No doubt about it. And there are a couple other maybe intriguing or good candidates, but I'm telling you all right now, Udinski isn't a realistic option, the OC on Jacksonville. He is going to be blocked if the Bucs try. I don't care. Yeah, he's calling plays here. That's not an upgrade in NFL verbiage. So a team just can't interview him based on, he's going to call plays here. That's not how it works. Your title technically has to be increased in order for you just to get a flat out interview. And B, he's in such a good position. He turns 30 tomorrow. Right now, he has no pressure in Jacksonville, Zach. I mean, he's a bright offense, a young mind. You're riding Liam Cohen's coattails as well. Why wouldn't you enjoy the ride? And then your next hire is probably going to be a head coach, whether it's this year or in the future. So you could rule him out. A lot of Bucs fans wanted him. Nate Shieldhouse suddenly getting head coach interviews. This is a young guy who is a very appealing name out there. He had some good tick at Iowa State calling plays. Hasn't gotten a chance in the NFL yet, though, but the Raiders and the Browns are now interviewing Shieldhouse for head coach. So he's another intriguing name. Outside of those two, you got Todd Monken, who I wouldn't hate. I think it's probably the third or fourth best option. But at the end of the day, Baltimore had Derrick Henry. I know Lamar missed some time, but when Lamar was back, Baltimore looked a little discombobulated last year. And Baker, his worst year as a pro was actually under Todd Monken. Again, he's still probably my fourth choice, but at day's end, realistic options. If Mike McDaniel gets passed up on a head coach job, as Richard said, he's getting head coach interviews. But if you're Mike McDaniel, Zach, and you look at yourself and go, I have two options here, because let's be honest, recycled head coaches only have a couple of cracks at the iron before they're pretty much permanent assistants. So if you're a guy like Mike McDaniel, and yes, I feel like a broken record because we talked about it last year with Dave Canales, it's very hard to pass up on one of 32 head coaching jobs in the National Football League. But this isn't McDaniel's first opportunity. So would you rather go to a Tennessee Titans, a Vegas Raiders, a Cleveland Browns where it's been nothing but disarray, broken franchises, no continuity in those places? Or would you rather be the OC in Detroit or Tampa where your odds of having a very efficient offense are high? Detroit's last OC, obviously both teams used OCs as scapegoats this year, but prior to that, you had Tampa with back-to-back OC head coaches. You had Detroit with an OC head coach. So to me, Zach, if I'm Mike McDaniel personally, I would much rather line myself up with Dan Campbell or the Bucs and say, hey, whether it's with Tampa after Todd Bowles is gone or if it's elsewhere, that is my best chance at not only getting another head coach opportunity, but a legit head coach opportunity with a chance to stick around for a while.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Like you said, this isn't his first crack at being a head coach, so I don't think that's going to be the driving factor in his decision. And after being married to Tua for his entire stint in Miami, I can't see him going to Cleveland with that mess of a quarterback situation and having to do that all over again and being handcuffed by who's already there and it's not your guy. The Giants are kind of intriguing because of Dart and Scadaboo, and you got Malik Neighbors, but he's coming back off a series. Both those, Scadaboo and Neighbors are coming back off major injuries. Plus, it's New York, right? So you're going to be constantly hounded by the media. It's just a nightmare in that market. The only real head coaching gig that I think that is attractive this cycle thus far is Atlanta. With what they have as a on-the-field product, but you're looking at no first-round pick this year as well. So, that does have a short-term impact on what you're able to do. I think there's something brewing in Baltimore with Lamar, and I think that's kind of why Harbaugh's not there anymore. So I don't know if I'm doing that, but going to Detroit with those weapons, you want to talk about being able to just show how dominant of an OC you are. You go to Detroit with those weapons, you put that tape out there, and then you're potentially ready to go the next year to a team and be a head coach. You come to Tampa, you have a slight downgrade of weapons on the offense where you can kind of make your mark. Might be more impactful because you don't have the same level of weapons in Detroit. But what you also have is, if you do a really great job in Tampa with that offense, and then Todd Bowles decides to retire or the defense shits the bed again, you're probably in line to get that job right there in-house. You don't have to move your family again. You're already right there. So I think there's aside from Atlanta, I think the OC jobs in Detroit and Tampa are the most attractive positions this cycle.
I agree. Atlanta's intriguing. Atlanta's kind of set up like a mini Houston Texans, I feel like, with those first two young edge rushers they took this past year. They have defensive pieces in place. You got Bijan, you got Drake London, you got other weapons there. So I, too, agree that Atlanta is an intriguing spot for a head coach, and I really hope McDaniel doesn't go there. It's funny you mentioned Baltimore kind of being a little fishy right now. I was literally writing down, even before you said that it feels like a sitting duck opportunity to me where somebody's going to go there and be the scapegoat maybe in a year, maybe 2 years, and that whole thing's just going to implode. Lamar's going to go. It's just going to probably get worse before it gets better there. I mean, you had Harbaugh, a top 5 coach in football for the longest time, and he couldn't get it done. You bring in a Hall of Fame running back with Derrick Henry, and you get worse somehow. So no idea what's going on there. That's the only thing that drives me off with Monken a little bit too. And I'm sure he'll probably end up on Harbaugh's staff regardless, Todd Monken too. So that's another thing. But if you're Mike McDaniel, another underrated caveat of going to Detroit or Tampa, and I mean, he'd probably be if he has success at Detroit, it'll be a one and done because then he'd springboard to head coach regardless. But in Tampa, where you could become the future head coach, it's nice to have those QBs like Goff and Baker, where yes, and I still think Baker's a franchise guy, so don't twist my words out there, people. But if you are Mike McDaniel, you come into Tampa, you have Baker Mayfield with pretty much one more year left on his contract. You pretty much have a riveting choice. If the offense thrives, you could beg to bring Mayfield back as the head coach, and you got a really good thing going. Or if the offense still looks pretty good, but Baker was like Jameis in his last season, not the 30 interceptions, but let's see what's behind door number 2. Then a guy like McDaniel has a choice to go out and pick his young QB of choosing. Whereas if you go to a Tennessee, you're stuck with Cam Ward for at least a couple more seasons, right, wrong, or indifferent. If you go to Cleveland, you're probably going to draft the QB round 1, and if not, you got a bunch of meddling. You got Shador, you got Dylan Gabriel, you're overpaying Deshaun Watson, so who knows? Like you're stuck there. So to me, not only is it a good situation with weapons, he wouldn't have to move far in the state of Florida, but on top of all that, he kind of Zach could springboard at quarterback. It gives him an option. Hey, I could get this offense going, and instead of being married to the hip with Tua like Miami forced him to do by giving him that contract, the Bucs haven't given that to Baker Mayfield the second time yet. So he would have the flexibility of, do I want to develop Baker, and will he be our guy? Or, and again, I think Baker is the guy, but just hypothetically, the Bucs could go out and either get a new QB who's a veteran or draft a QB if Baker doesn't work out.
Absolutely. And then you factor in the offensive line. I mean, you got a starting 5 that's under every position's under 28 years of age. You got Bucky Irving, who's younger. You got Abuka and McMillan in the wings that are younger. So you've got a lot of pieces for the future as well. And that's not to mention Mike and Chris and all the other things that make that offense attractive. I just think it makes the most sense. Plus, you're already in Florida. It's not that big of a move. He obviously likes Disney, so Tampa's even closer than Miami was. You got no state income tax, so he's going to make more, even if it's maybe the contract's a little bit less on paper, but he's still going to make more because he's not going to be paying those taxes. It just, to me, makes sense, right? But I want it to make sense. So in my mind, that is going to be what's happening until it doesn't. So I'm not even putting any stock in any other candidate until my 1A is off the board.
Couldn't agree more, and that deserves a big round of applause. Getting to the known candidates is our guy B Shuck says howdy. Richard says Shieldhouse also getting head coach interviews. STC Search is not going to be as easy as we would like it. There's just a lot of names out. Like, not saying I'd be happy with, but like a guy like Monken or Kingsbury, I could talk myself into those guys, right? Like if it was one of those two, not that I'd be thrilled about it. I want McDaniel to be the guy, but I feel like in years past, it was a lot more doom and gloom for OC candidates. I feel like if you do need an offensive coordinator, this is a year that a lot of appealing ones are to be had. Our guy Icewater Olson saying, sup, y'all, sup, JT, welcome in Bucs Report's finest. Zach also interviewed Israel Woolfork, Arizona's quarterback coach. And I will say, I hope this is like an incognito in disguise type of interview, because I would love this guy if he was like a QB's coach / pass game specialist, if we hired a McDaniel or a Shieldhouse or something, because I was impressed with Jacoby Brissett, but not to the point where I think, coming off of Grizzard, are you really going to trust your gut with a guy like Woolfork who has no play calling experience either? So, Zach, what I'm hoping is this is more of a incognito type interview where maybe he won't be our OC, but there might be a door open on our staff because Arizona likely won't retain him. He did get interviewed for other OC spots before. Chicago interviewed him last year and stuff. So he has an intriguing resume. I just don't think it's an offensive coordinator resume.
Yeah, I agree. I think there might be another one of those that was kind of hiding in there as well, as they brought him under the guise of the OC, but they're gonna have him maybe potentially slotted somewhere else once all the chips fall where they may. So like I said, I'm trying not to get too in the weeds with it just yet as we wait for things to shake out. Plus, with the playoffs going on, it's a lot harder for these guys to get the interviews in for certain candidates, and they may want to have some of these guys in person as opposed to virtual. So that might be why we're not seeing some of the other names from teams that are still in it.
Yeah, definitely. They've all pretty much been, as you said, virtual, and some names aren't going to pop up for a while. And again, we've alluded to it, comments alluded to it. Yes, McDaniel's surely going to take head coach interviews before he looks at OC one. So his name will take a little while to pop up if it does, presumably. Todd Monken's going to wait to see where Harbaugh goes before he's going to make a decision. So playoff teams are out there, right? You got all these Rams coordinators that are gnawing at the bit. So as Zach said, things are going to pop up over time. I think Callahan was just to get, an interview going. He was just a head coach, familiar with Carberry. I don't think there's legs behind that. If anything, I think that was more so just a voice, but you really never know. Maybe Todd Bowles wants another head coach opinion. I don't think so, but you never know. Robinson is probably the one out of the four that has the most legs right now of being the offensive coordinator. He was a 5-6 year NFL vet out of Oklahoma State, and he seemed to have success against the Bucs. That's not saying much at all, but that probably convinced Bowles a little bit right there. He will get another crack one day at OC regardless. It might be here, might not be, but Zach, I prefer if he's not it, but out of the four, I guess he'd be the one. As I said, Woolfork, intriguing on the staff, and you were probably alluding to maybe David Shaw could be a guy on the staff this year. He was longtime Stanford coach. He was pass game coordinator for the Lions this year. I wouldn't mind seeing him end up on the Bucs offensive staff as well, because he could be a very good voice in Todd Bowles' ear on when to take timeouts and how to manage a clock. He was a head coach for 11 years at Stanford and had a lot of success with Andrew Luck too.
Yeah. I think out of the known candidates that have already gotten an interview, Zack Robinson is probably the best of that grouping. There are some other potential position fillers in that grouping of interviews. But I think this is really like just the first wave. I think we'll probably see several more candidates this week and probably next. We're probably not going to see any of I think the Harbaugh chip is the first chip to fall, right? Like he's going to have to go because McDaniel is unless he's not in the running of the teams that Harbaugh, because I guess he's going to have a list of teams that he's willing to go to. So if one of the teams that is interested in McDaniel is on that list, I think they wait to see if they win the Harbaugh sweepstakes before they make another move. And maybe McDaniel gets antsy and wants to get started and doesn't wait for that chip to fall. And that's why it takes an OC gig. So you just never know. I mean, there's always a catalyst every year that it seems like we're waiting on this thing to kick off. So I think this year with Harbaugh being on the market, I think it kind of changes a little bit of the forecast for how this is going to shake out.
I couldn't agree more. And it's kind of weird, not weird, but like when there's been other intriguing candidates, it's been really quick movement. I remember when Andy Reid went to the Chiefs, he was like the Harbaugh figure of the cycle. It was like done deal. But there's no, yes, Atlanta or Baltimore could be. Harbaugh obviously isn't going to Baltimore. So he is truly himself waiting for maybe another intriguing gig to pop up. What if Green Bay opened up? You never know if and as Zach said, Harbaugh will be probably the first domino to fall. And, if he's not the first, well, then a team that was looking to hire him would probably be told they're out on him regardless. So Harbaugh, and then maybe a guy like LaFleur becomes available. I think if the Bills lost yesterday, McDermott could have been another intriguing option that hit the market. So a lot of people are kind of waiting around on some of these bigger names to see what ends up happening to me. And if you're a Harbaugh, there's really no need to rush, right? Like Zach said, everybody's going to wait for you. The Raiders, the Giants, the Falcons, they're all hoping they could rally around you. If you're Harbaugh, why would you sign the ink on, the Falcons gig right now? And like we said, maybe the LaFleur extension talks fall through. Next thing you know, Green Bay has an opening. Or what if, I don't think it happens, what if Pittsburgh somehow gets waxed tonight? That'd be the funniest thing in the world if Harbaugh went to Pittsburgh then. I don't think it happens, but the first domino to fall is always usually the biggest name, like Zach said, and that'll be Harbaugh. But outside of that, there's a lot of coaching seats to fill right now. Head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. Zach, I'm just hoping, nothing against Raheem Morris, but I'm hoping the Falcons make another Raheem Morris type hire this time around.
Yeah, I definitely want them to come out on the shitty end of the stick when it comes to picking a coaching candidate. But as you were talking, man, I thought of something really, like, I wasn't even considering the Raiders. I had completely forgot that they fired their head coach. That's an interesting spot for Harbaugh to land. I mean, they've got Brady on the management team now, so he's going to be aggressive to win now. So there's probably a lot of money that would be willing to be thrown at Harbaugh to come there. They got the number one pick in the draft. But honestly, I think Harbaugh to New York just makes the most sense, honestly.
And as you said earlier, they have Jackson Dart. Who knows if Scadaboo will come back 100% right away, but they do have intriguing options with him. Malik Neighbors got a solid young tight end over there. You have Andrew Thomas on the O-line. You got some defensive pieces like a Burns, like an Abdul Carter, So they do have intriguing options over there in New York, and you have a high pick again. So that'll be that. But I hope Atlanta fails, but I do hope we succeed at special teams coordinator, Zach. It's been forever, seemingly, since we've had a competent special teams coordinator. I honestly wouldn't mind the kid from Detroit, only 28 years old. We'll see if it ends up being him. Not a lot of other movement right now outside of that for this position, but that was Jet Modkins from Detroit. He was their assistant special teams coordinator. To me, Zach, Keith Tandy is going to fall victim like Tad Lewis, probably, right, wrong, or indifferent. Like, if it hasn't been Tandy Man promoted by now, or if he wasn't hired last time around, find it hard to believe he will be this time around. But good God, for special teams coordinator, go with the young guy, roll the dice, see what happens. It's probably not likely, but there are Harbaughs of the world. There are Joe Judges of the world that start off as special teams coordinators and become head coaches out there. So, Zach, why wouldn't you go for a 28, 35-year-old guy instead of going with the Thomas McGahee or Keith Armstrong that's been recycled as special teams coordinator in 18 different places by now, and all their ideas are known throughout the NFL? Hell, go with a young guy out there. Worst comes to worst, he's in over his head. But if you're going to have any of the three coordinators being over their head, it's the special teams one, because they could probably patch it up. But hey, maybe you catch lightning down the bottle, and down the road, here we are talking OC guy as a replacement. You never know if the special teams guy you could catch lightning in a bottle with.
Absolutely. And the good thing is with special teams is the bar's so low that even mediocre results are an improvement, right? So, I mean, I really don't think you can go too wrong with who you put in that spot, just because, like I said, man, like their best solution for kick returns was, let's just give them the 35 every time, and that's better results than actually trying to have kick coverage. So the bar's really, really low. But it would be nice to have elite special teams for a change. I can't remember a time where I thought the Bucs special teams were good, just good. I mean, even this year when we had one of the best kickers in franchise history, after the start of the season, it was even kind of cringy every time we rolled out there to kick. Even though McLaughlin ended up, being solid, I still had that feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, oh, this isn't going to turn out good. So it would be nice to have, especially kick and punt returns, somebody that can flip the field. That would be nice. It'd be nice to have what some of these other teams have every once in a while.
And it's just every facet of special teams is a broken record. As Olivia checks in, Richard checks in, it was like, all right, we're not going to get the ball past the 30 on returns. The 30 felt like it felt like, oh my gosh, we just returned it to the 30, and other teams out here getting it to the 35 routinely. And it felt like when we kicked it, if we stopped them before the 40, that was a win for us. That's not, and that's how you lose football games. The little things, when you get 10 to 15-yard difference in field position, not one possession a game, but every single possession in every single game, it's going to add up to 3 points here and there for the opposition, and it's going to add up to us punting a little bit more from a worse spot, giving the team better field position. It's all the little things. So, I'd go ahead, Zach.
I was just going to say, I still don't understand why we never saw Tez in punt return or kick return, because when he was drafted, it was like, oh, he's going to be on kick returns, he's going to be on punt returns. I think he even came out at the draft and said, I'm taking the punt return job. And then we never got a glimpse, not even once. So it's like,
and I could see for those couple weeks where we were thin at wide receiver, whatever, it's like, all right, don't risk Tez. And that's what I thought it was at first. When McMillan went down in preseason, Godwin was still banged up. We talked about it on the pod. We're like, they're probably preserving him. Cam Johnson showed glimpses too, but then he never got better. You alluded to that the other day too. And they never gave Tez a chance. So I don't know what the hell happened there. Maybe, I remember Jalen Darden, the same thing. We drafted him. He was supposed to be that guy. Never really came true. Trey Palmer, same thing. But, some of the past special teams guys who got hired eventually became young, vibrant minds and ended up getting gigs. Harbaugh, Joe Judge, Bisaccia, he was never a full-time head coach, but he was an interim head coach. Then guys who were special teams assistants who ended up having great careers. Dick Vermeil, Mike Ditka, Bill Belichick. So it does go to show if you hire the right special teams minds, A, they can make a team hell of a lot better, and B, they do have a path, not a big one, but they do have a path to become a successful head coach in the league. So if you're the Bucs and Todd Bowles doesn't have a long time left, yes, 98% chance that your next head coach will either be somebody who's not on the team right now or your next offensive coordinator. But why not roll the dice on that 2% Zack? Hire whether it's Modkins from Detroit, who had one of the best special teams this year, or whether you bring in another young special teams mind from college or pros. Hell, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle and that guy becomes leader of men. I mean, even the Broncos special teams coordinator, he was a Saints interim head coach for a little bit. Darren Rizzi, he's getting head coach interviews right now. So just hire a guy who's young, vibrant, and full of spunk. It's better than Thomas McGahee or Keith Armstrong going, oh, we'll do the same thing and nothing changes. No, bring more young minds into the game, and you never know what the heck could happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I keep hearing the Bucs are going to have a hard time attracting coordinators because of Todd Bowles' quote unquote lame duck status. And that could be, right? That's one potential outcome. But the other potential outcome is you get an OC in here who kicks ass, and their side of the ball is, top 5, and Bowles' side of the ball shits the bed again. Now you've got a leg up on becoming a head coach in this league because of the performance and the ability to lead your side of the ball. So it could, on one hand, it could be a deterrent, but on the other hand, it could be the carrot at the end of the stick, right? That's like my driving, motivating factor. If I come in here and do my thing, I could be a head coach in this league sooner rather than later because the organization already sees how I work on a day-to-day basis. They see the relationships that I form. They see the work that I put in. They see what effort I get out of the guys on my side of the ball. So now when it comes into time for interviews, I've got that in my attaché case that I get to talk about. And another candidate's not going to have that eyes on me for a whole season.
I think you hit the nail on the head, and I would look at it like that too if I'm a coordinator. And on top of that, I'd say, okay, there's two paths. There's I could be the successor to Todd Bowles or the next man if Bowles gets fired, maybe not successor, but whatever the case might be, I could be the next man in Tampa. Or 2 out of their past 3 coordinators got head coach jobs as well. So say if something happens where Bowles does stick around, again, I think it's his last season. But, hey, maybe I could springboard elsewhere then And I think that's a lot more appealing than waiting around. And if you're going to be Harbaugh's OC, you're not going to take his job anytime soon. And, it's just one of those things where it could be, I would lean more with you, Zach, of, hey, I think it could be an opportunity to springboard Todd Bowles opposed to, I could be one and done with Todd Bowles.
Yeah, I think it's a silver linings type situation. And I think right now people are just upset over the fact that Bowles retained his job. So, we got a bunch of negativity out there, and rightly so. I can understand where people are coming from. I mean, hell, I was negative about it at first, but it took me a minute. I got over it. And now, like I said,
we have a little bit of breaking news, Zach.
Oh, boy.
Another candidate has emerged. This one intrigues me a little bit, and it's still not a great one to me, but intrigues me a little bit more than what we've came from. The Bucs will interview Giants offensive coordinator and interim head coach Mike Kafka for their offensive coordinator position. So former Bucs QB getting a look, according to Greg Allman, that was tweeted 3 minutes ago. Sorry to cut you off. Finish your thoughts, and then I guess also add in the Bucs interviewing Mike Kafka. And Mike McDaniel will interview for the Lions OC job tomorrow. That is official as well.
No, that's like I said. I want to interview as many candidates as possible, right? To make sure that we've done our due diligence to get the right guy. It's not about hiring a guy; it's about hiring the right guy, because our offense has too much talent. We've talked about it to nauseum on this show, about how much talent is on the offensive side of this ball, how much talent is on the offensive side of the ball. And for the fact that they performed so poorly down the stretch, it's important that you get the right guy. So interview as many hell, I wouldn't be upset if we started to do second interviews with some of these guys to just make sure we got it right this time, because our window, those windows don't stay open forever. So you want to make sure you take advantage of it when you get the chance. So I really wish we would see McDaniel's name on an interview sheet come soon. But this is better than a couple of the other candidates that we've interviewed thus far. So I don't hate it.
Not the Mike we were hoping for, but an intriguing Mike nonetheless. And I think it is better than a David Shaw. I think it's better than a Woolfork. And I think it's better than a Callahan. Him and Robinson would probably go up there with the two most intrigued to this point, Zach. But as you said, last year, I'm all for more names, because last year we interviewed about 5 or 6. And then, again, it felt like Grizz was the guy last year. It felt like the Bucs thought continuity would be good. It felt like they thought Grizzard's third down specialty would translate. So it felt like Grizzard was already hired before they even started interviewing guys last year. And now this year, Zach, it feels like they're taking a totally opposite approach, left no stone unturned. And Mike Kafka is another step in the right direction. And although I think he probably does end up as an OC somewhere, but Zach, this could be another guy who maybe seeps his way through and ends up on the staff if he gets foreseen as offensive coordinator elsewhere. He could maybe end up as a QB coach, pass game coordinator with the Bucs one day.
Yeah, could. We don't know how it shakes out. Again, we know very little of what actually happens and goes on behind the scenes, but I do agree with what you said about Grizzard. It really just felt like from the get-go they were going to do something internally to try to make it as consistent for Baker as possible. So the Grizzard hiring wasn't like it was with Liam. Like, well, I feel like when they hired Liam, we were all kind of like, whoa, who's this guy? Like, I don't know anything about this guy. And then we were all pleasantly surprised. So hopefully we have that experience this time.
Yeah, Richard mentions Brian Daboll. Actually, WDAE and T-Crest mentioned him today as well. So you never know. That would be an option out there. He did really good things with Josh Allen. Actually had Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart playing well last year too. So Daboll would be an interesting one if he wanted to be out there. But Zach, one thing's for certain. Yeah, that's why last year too we're talking about continuity. I was hoping it was Thad Lewis last year. Still would have been continuity, but wouldn't have mattered at this point as he got extinguished anyways. But regardless, Zach, we will be looking for a new QB coach as well. So guys like Woolfork and Kafka, even, these other guys, Robinson too, these guys, I mean, there's only so many offensive coordinator chairs at the table. And yes, a lot of them are going to end up other OCs out there, other head coaches out there. Some of them might have stronger ties to other opportunities and places, but some of these guys might partner up and say, all right, I liked what the Bucs were to offer, and they could be thinking the same thing, like you alluded to a little bit ago. They could be thinking, all right, say if Mike McDaniel's the OC, he could be the new head coach down the road, and then I could be the new OC, or I could get ahead. So it's all relative, Zach, where maybe these guys are trying to think long term, but who knows? I don't think QB coach will be filled anytime soon, though, because we will need an OC before that. But Zach, when do you think we might see defensive coaches maybe coming in, or do you think that's put on the back burner as well until we figure out offense and special teams coordinators?
I really hope that all the focus is on the offensive coordinator at the moment. Those defensive positions that they're looking to hire probably aren't going to be a lot of promotion type based jobs for guys. It's probably going to be lateral moves or guys that, their contracts are up with their current club, and maybe some of those guys are still in the playoffs currently. So that we might not see those positions start to fill till after the playoffs. But I really hope the focus right now is on getting the right guy for the offensive coordinator position, because it's the most important hire, in my opinion, that we have on the staff. I know, we need to get those defensive coaches in, but honestly, I don't think we're going to see much of a change in the defense because Todd's still calling it. It's still his scheme. Maybe having some newer, younger, fresher voices in the room, they'll be able to adapt the way the message is given to the guys, because communication, we've heard it all. We've heard it for 6.5 years, communication. So maybe they can get some guys in there that are, really good at communicating and can translate Todd Bowles' hella complex defense, break it down elementary style so that everybody knows what position they are supposed to be responsible for on the field. Because watching a game with 2 or 3 coverage busts that happens every single time that results in touchdowns is infuriating. And if you want an example of that, go watch the Pats game from this year. Every touchdown they scored was somebody's in the wrong spot when it happened, and they're not short touchdowns. They're all, especially the two runs by Henderson. I think one was 60 plus yards. So that's an example of when guys don't understand what position they're supposed to be in. So maybe a younger voice will help ensure understanding of the defense.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And if you go back to the first game against Atlanta last year, the opening drive they had, Bijan put us on ice skates. Nobody was around him. Just happened way too much last year. And we brought in Charlie Strong last year. We had our defensive staff felt like an ARP club. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing against these guys. It's not a knock on them. And I'm not trying to say old guys can't coach. We know they can. Bruce won a Super Bowl here. Belichick, one of the best to do it at that old age. Pete had a lot of success, older age. Todd Bowles, right, wrong, or indifferent, 3-time playoff guy, not to spring us to chicken. So I'm not slamming older guys, but sometimes when you do something over and over again and it doesn't work, it's good to change it up. As we said with special teams, I'm going to continue to stay consistent on the defensive side of the ball too. Younger minds sometimes get creative plays, get creative ideas, which lead to better results. And that's what I think the Buccaneers do, both on special teams and offense. And Zach Pops makes a good point too, with the division getting better. He texted into the show, having good special teams is a must. That's a good point too, because look at Carolina, look at Atlanta, look at New Orleans. It seems like Kellen Moore, Dave Canales are at least pretty good head coaches. And then it seems like whoever Atlanta brings in will be an upgrade over Raheem Morris. So, these 3 teams at the very least will have competent special teams, and they're all young and upcoming teams. The Buccaneers really need to make sure their third phase of the game doesn't put them behind the bar.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been an Achilles heel forever. I mean, I don't know that we've ever had, like I said, elite special teams or special teams that are in the top 10 of the NFL. But just another point on your older coaches. I think one thing that people forget is people evolve over time, and the way that people understand and digest information evolves as these players get younger and the coaches get older. Sometimes coaches, can get stuck in the ways that they're trying to constantly put a square peg into a round hole without and expecting their audience to adapt to their style as opposed to them adapting their style to their audience. And I think, when we talk about guys that kind of, I'm going to take some liberties here and make some assumptions that weren't absorbing the message. They were on the younger end of that spectrum. So I think getting some youth in the building in some of these position groups could have dramatic impacts on the way that they understand their assignments and know how to go out on the field and execute what's being asked of them.
And it's funny because Richard says, you mentioned Kingsbury earlier. Did he coach Baker in college? Well, this is where the small world aspect comes into things, because Baker Mayfield, current Buccaneers quarterback, and Davis Webb, current guy getting interviewed for OCs and head coaches opportunities out there. They're the same age, but Davis Webb and Baker were freshmen at the time. Davis Webb was actually their starting QB. That's why Baker ended up transferring out of there, because Kingsbury preferred, or whether it was his call, whoever's call, they went with Davis Webb, and Baker got out of there. They do have overlap. There's not said to be hard feelings. Obviously, there might be a little bit if he transferred. So he did coach him in college, but he didn't really play under him because Davis Webb was the better prospect at that time. And, that's just funny how now all of a sudden Davis Webb he's a potential to join the Bucs staff. And, it's just funny how life works. So that's kind of the tie between Kingsbury, Davis Webb, and Baker Mayfield. So it was kind of a thing where they had two good freshmen at the time. And it's crazy to think that Baker, Davis Webb, Mahomes all got drafted all on the same roster. So there you go. But Zach, we're going to put a bow on the coaches and get to some memorabilia things here at the Buccateers, as we are live on a Mancave Monday. We're going to be having a lot of fun here on Mondays upcoming. Zack and I on Mancave Monday. A-Cats will be hopping on, doing some dive into the 813 Tampa Sports History shows. Going to continue with their Saturday showdowns, have some other fun content as well. Giveaways are we did get our coasters back in, so we're going to do a couple more Bucksmith giveaways throughout the playoffs, and then we'll have about 5 or 6 winners by the time the Super Bowl comes to ship some winners out. So it's going to be a lot of fun here, and you can keep up with us on YouTube at Buccateers Podcast. Hit that like button, subscribe button, turn that notification bell on. Become an honorary Buccateer today, like Mike out in Nebraska, or like Big Ed Rabasa. Now that they're honorary Buccateers on our YouTube memberships, they'll be getting free coasters, part of the program when you become an honorary Buccateer. So go look at our membership opportunities, and then super chats are always appreciated, never expected here on the Buccateers, as we are winding down Bucs talk and amping up memorabilia talk. Christmas, Hanukkah, all the holidays, great time to give gifts. A lot of people probably got some cool things out there. Zach, I didn't necessarily get any memorabilia, but a couple cool things I got. One of them came from the Bucs game, Mike Evans bobblehead out there, so that was pretty cool. Tried to keep the box in the best shape I could. It's not completely beat up, but it's not in the greatest of shape because it was a wet, rainy one out there, but did the best I can there. So that was one of my cool ads over the holidays. And then I got a Penn State LED light that'll go on the wall eventually when I move locations, because that'll be interesting. But spring or summertime, I will be moving locations as well. So, and then I got a bar stool, a Buccaneers bar stool. That's pretty cool. And then I actually got an arcade, the arcade version of Golden Tee for my future man cave as well, to put that up down there. So not necessarily any like true game used items, autographed items, Zach, but nonetheless, it's Man Cave Monday. I still got a lot of cool stuff for the man cave, a bar stool, an arcade game, an LED light, and a bobblehead, but probably not as cool as your recent pickups.
Yeah, no, those are amazing. I'm super jealous over the Mike Evans bobblehead. I've been trying to.
I can maybe get you an extra. I can maybe pull some strings, but just give me a minute, and I'll see if I might have an extra for you.
Oh, I appreciate that. The secondary market is ridiculous. during the game, people were uploading them to eBay during the game.
But even what our own J-Lo went to the what there was like the bank thing. People had him at the bank thing, putting him on eBay too. So it's ridiculous.
$200, man. I don't mind people making some money off of some things, but you got this thing for free and you want to charge $200. Like that's a lot, man. Like $200 is crazy. I don't pay $200 for the ones from Foco that are like the limited edition, like limited edition. So it was disheartening. A lot of people on some Facebook groups doing the same thing with those prices. A little disheartening, but it's a capitalist society, so that's what people do. So I did not get one of those. I'm also the kind of guy that I don't want gifts, so I try to deter as many people as possible from getting me stuff during the holidays. But my wife never seems to abide by that rule. So she did get me two of the Pro Standard hoodies. I don't know if you're familiar with that brand. That brand is legit. Like it's one of my favorite brands out there. And she got me two. She got me a throwback and then the one that's all black. Yeah. So those are pretty. So that's what I got for the holidays. I did buy myself some things. That's why I deter gifts, because I buy myself enough. I don't need anybody else to spend money on me. So I did get. Depending on how you look at it, I upgraded my Antoine Winfield Jr. jersey. So I was pretty happy with that. You can it's back there.
Right so, couple things, and we're going to piggyback here to keep the good convo rolling. For those that aren't in a game used jersey familiarity, Zach, they probably hear you say upgrade Winfield jersey, and they go, how can you upgrade a game used jersey? So I guess maybe get into that a little bit, what we view upgrades for items in that aspect. Because, right, I mean, if you have an autographed picture and you get another autographed picture, it's like canceling value. But jerseys, it's a little different. And B, I love Pro Standard, man. I just found out about that. Like, they're like Mitchell and Ness on steroids to me. Their stuff. It looks beautiful. So great job to Mrs. Johnson on that. Kudos to her.
Yeah, she reached out to some OGs to get some pointer. Our girl Sil helped her out with the purchases, so it was
champ.
Nice. That's right. So when I said I upgraded, and I said it kind of begrudgingly because I guess it depends on what you value. I had a white Winfield that was in the background, and it was dirty. It was unwashed, had some nice grass stains. It was from the Atlanta game where he caused the touchback by chasing down Ritter and knocking the ball out. So it had the captain's patch, had the wear, and it had a big play attached to it. I got the opportunity to get a Winfield from this season in red, and red is more desirable, in my opinion. Again, when it's your collection, your opinion factors into what you put a value on something. So it's red. It's from the Cardinals game, so it has an interception, and it's double patched. So it has the captain's patch, and it has the 50th season patch. So this season's jerseys are going to have another layer of value because of the 50th season patch, because they won't be on next season's or the seasons after that jersey. So those are just little things when you're talking about how do you upgrade a jersey. And I think that's a good segue into what we wanted to talk about. And this is Bucs jerseys. We're not gonna speak on other teams' jerseys because I don't have as much knowledge as to the value indicators for other teams. But when you're talking Bucs, red is more valuable than white, in my opinion. How do you feel about that, Tones?
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because that's what I was thinking all along for people out there that may be like, oh, well, it's different with the Bucs, and obviously Bucs fans know that, but non-Bucs fans don't know that. We don't really wear red a ton. So the fact when you could get your hands on a red gamer, you go ahead and do that, because most ones to hit the market are the white ones. And nothing against white, but the color jerseys usually are more of a draw just because, people like that. Not all the time, but some people like colors. And B, the more rare the jerseys wore and the more value it is. So red is absolutely now it's different if it's like the white creamsicle, right? Because that's a one-off or something.
Yeah,
But if it's
alternates, yeah.
yeah, alternate aside, there you go. But the basic white, probably, as I have a Godwin and Evans one hanging on my wall right behind me, probably the least desirable in terms of the pewter, the cream, the white cream, and the red. And red are just something about the red in person too, whether it's alarm clocks or like the non-alarm clock, Zach. I don't know, but when you like get them in person, and you don't get me wrong, I still love the white jerseys, especially Godwin Evans. I got a Simeon Rice one over there. Like, there's still beautiful things, but the red ones are just, they hit different. I don't know what it is about them, if it's a color, but they pop a lot more than the white ones do when they're on the wall too.
Yeah, I agree. And the way I look at it is every team wears white, right? So that doesn't really set us apart. You really get set apart when you go to your other color palette. So for us, it's red. I think there's been seasons where we've worn white 12 times and red 5. So when you're talking about scarcity, your value's in your red because we don't wear it often. Now, the nice thing about white, if you can get one that's unwashed, is you got a much better chance to see what the game looks like. Like, I've got a Cam Johnson from this year that's just tore up front and back as far as grass stains and transfer marks and dirt, and it's beautiful. But if I could, get a red one where he had a big play in it, I would probably make that switch just because of the scarcity. And out of all the jerseys, color-wise, in my opinion, the most fire one to have in hand is a red alarm clock. It's just that red's a little bit different than the red that we have on the current uniforms. The 3M reflective material, the mismatch patching on the sleeves. It's all gravy, man. Those are gorgeous jerseys. So color is definitely a value indicator. We've already talked about where the dirtier the better. You always want unwashed over washed. I think the next thing that I look for when I'm valuing a jersey is, does it have any repairs? And the reason that I look for that is because repairs are the number one indicator that the jersey has been worn more than once. And the reason that you're looking for one that's been worn more than once is, if we're talking 18 games a season, and we're talking there's one per game, so you can get 18 jerseys a year. If you have repairs on it, that number now goes down. So now maybe there's only 12 or there's only 10 from that particular player in that year, and the value of that jersey goes up because there's not that many to go around. For example, I've got Jalen McMillan's rookie jersey, his red rookie jersey, and I've photo matched it to every game that we wore red in that year. So it's the only Jalen McMillan red rookie jersey out there, and that's going to increase the value. So if you think about his rookie season, down the stretch, he had, I think, 2 touchdown games, all in the red jersey. So all in that jersey. So it was pretty awesome to find out, because when I got it, the guy had only photo matched it to the Washington playoff game. And he actually took it to a signing with Jalen McMillan and had him sign the jersey and date the jersey with the date of that game on it. So when we made the deal, it was just off of that game. And when I got it in, I saw that it had multiple repairs, and I went and started photo matching it and photo matched it to every game that we wore red.
And on top of all that, which makes that even better, which A, bodes well to the red, B, on top of the repairs thing, players swap jerseys so much more often nowadays too, that they run through them even more there. So if they do have a repair, or players have different situations too, like look at Brad Johnson, right? He was on the show last summer, and he talked about how he wore 4 jerseys during a game sometimes. So repairs, on top of it showing, hey, this had longevity. It was worn a lot, but it's like, okay, it didn't also get jersey swapped. And some players just, it's cool knowing that a jersey, like a player also cared enough about that jersey that he was going to wear it and keep wearing it, or that, multiple cool factors about it. And B, that's also why some people don't like autographs on game use stuff, because look at that, for example. I mean, what if you wanted to add in, it was also worn this game, and this game, right? So it's one of those things, Zach, where, like, I'm not one, like, if I want a jersey, I want it. I don't really care about the autograph on it too much, depending but something like that, maybe somebody could be like, that could be like a factor of why maybe you shouldn't get things signed if you plan to sell them or trade them down the road. If it plans on being in your collection forever, no big deal, right? But if you plan on moving on from the item, you might not want to get it autographed, or at least inscribed with your name on it or something special. The autograph is one thing. Say if it was just signed Jalen McMillan, that could be overlooked at more than, plop.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if I had the chance, I would take it and get the other games and dates added to it as well, because then that way it puts it in each of those particular games. I prefer mine to be unsigned, but I have gotten them signed. Like with Will Golston, for instance, on the cruise, I took all of my Golston gamers because I just wanted to get a picture with him and I and the 3 jerseys that I have. But when I handed him the jerseys to do the pictures, he went ahead and signed them. Like, what are you going to do in that case? You're going to be like, no, what are you doing? Don't sign those, So he signed them all. My very first gamer interaction with a player, I had him sign it, and then my opinion on it changed after that. So again, it's all personal preference, right? But to your point with that one, if I'm selling it to somebody that doesn't know the hobby that well, it's going to be difficult for me to convince them that it was worn in more than just that one game because the player signed it and dated it, right? And we've had those arguments with people like, well, the player says this isn't his game-worn jersey, even though it's been photo matched multiple times, right? Like I think Allstott's on record saying that none of his gamers are out in the wild when we both know that's not true, and they're out there. I think Strahan has a fake Super Bowl jersey, right? Like the Giants sold his jersey, and then the legend goes they faked one and gave it to him, and his is the fake one, and the real one's in the wild somewhere. But yeah, I think if I get the chance, I'll do it. Plus, he had a number change, right? So that's kind of cool. So this is the only red 15. If he goes on to have a good career, I mean, that's that's another value indicator.
That's another thing. The jersey numbers on jerseys, that could be looked at as a value. Plus, like the Igbuka, right? There's only like one number 9, one out there that I think got out, although it was preseason. There's just so many factors in valuing jerseys too. That's another thing. Preseason versus regular season. Some people don't care, right? They're like, oh, it was worn in a game, whatever. But then some people get turned off by preseason. Zach, are you one of those people? Like, if I preferred, it would never hinder me from getting a jersey. Like my Mike Evans one is preseason. I haven't really tried to match it to any regular season yet. So, but I match it to that preseason one for sure, and I still got it. But, if I preferred, it'd be regular season, but that could be another value component out there too, Zach, when they wore it. Regular season, preseason, obviously postseason, like your McMillan, that'll drive up the value too.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, but not really. I mean, if I had 2 to choose from and one was preseason and one was regular season, I'd probably shade to the regular season, unless the preseason one had a bunch of stats and a bunch of wear. If it looked like that, then I would probably make that. But you also have to remember, especially with Bucs jerseys, this Godwin back here is a perfect example. It's from 2024. It was worn in 2024. I photo matched it, but it's got the 50th and it's got Godwin Jr. on it. So it was prepped for 2025, but he never played it, right? They got out and I bought it before he had a chance to play in it. But if you look at it, you're going to be like, well, they didn't wear the 50th patch in 2024. They wore that in 2025. So I've gotten gamers that are from this year that have 2023 tags in them. So it's probably been worn more multiple times. So your Evans preseason could have been worn at the end of the regular season, the season before, and just recycled, because if the player doesn't keep it, doesn't swap it, it goes back to the team. They wash it, repair it, get it ready, put it on the shoulder pads, and put it back out there. So there's a good chance that that jersey's been worn in just more than that one game if it went through that process.
And what I like about it, even though it's preseason, as you alluded to, does it have good wear? Yes, it has literally photo match stains on it, photo match Gatorade stains and dirt stains. And then on top of that, for a preseason game, Evans had a touchdown, over 100 receiving yards. So he still went off that game.
Yeah.
And then he actually photo matched it with Josh Gordon. It's signed to Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon couldn't pay for his storage. So the story behind it's cool too. So it's really, and that's a weird thing, not weird thing, but the unique thing about this market. It's what the buyer kind of values the item as more so, or the seller, right? Like, if I could have this Mike Evans jersey, I could say I'm not taking $1 under 20,000 on it, which is laughable, right? But I could say that, and for 10 years straight, everybody could laugh at me. But then it just takes one little person to come along and be like, "Oh my God, I was row one at that game. That's when my kid was born. Mike Evans high-fived me that game. I will pay what it takes." Like, there are really weird instances and scenarios where all of a sudden an item can't move. And then one person comes along, and whether they're looking for a player specific or an event specific, Zach, they nab it up. That's why it's really, truly just so dang hard on how to put a concrete price on an item, because what we might think is fair, the buyer might not think is fair, but it's like, well, this is a price, and 80 people might say no. And then next thing you know, you could have 4 people chomping at the bit for the item. So it's a market unlike like cards, right? You pretty much know if you have a valuable card or not. Mini helmets. If a guy signs a mini helmet, you know if it's valuable or not. Where this is like, I think it's valuable, but then it might not move in the public, or I think that's a $200 jersey, but someone might list it for $1,000 because that's what they think it's worth.
Absolutely. And I know I've purchased jerseys because when they sold it, they mentioned a specific thing that happened or occurred in the game or with the player. And I'm like, oh man, I really need that for my collection. And then I get it, and then situations change and I want to sell it, and I go to sell it and I market it the same way that was attractive to me. And then I've got people reaching out to me asking about it, and I'm saying like, oh, it's got this particular thing with it. And they're like, I don't care about that. That doesn't mean anything. Like, so what holds value to me might not hold value to somebody else.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I have a jersey like that too, where I had one. My Ronald Jones, the rookie premier one, I sold it, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's his rookie premier, like first game used jersey market out there. The seller now never uses that to promote the jersey, which is fine. But like sometimes it's how you market it too, right? To some, that might be an intriguing bit. Oh man, that was his first. I'll like it. So even Sammy Stroughter, I used to have his London jersey. I'm like, well, he was Bucs leading receiver that day. Everybody has a different vision on what they like for their memorabilia. And as Zach said, what you might like today, you might look at 2 days from now and be like, I'm changing it completely. And you just have to know too, whatever you pay for something, you have to, like, yes, you might want to sell it for more for what you got it for, but you have to have the mindset that what you pay for it, it's like a car off the market. Once you buy it for that, you might not be able to get it back. Because Zach, before we wrap up here, I know you know as much as I know. I've tried to buy stuff before and list it for that price, and it just sits out there for months and months and months, and you just can't move it. But then, as we said, you never know. Somebody could cut. Like I had a Logan Hall headband sit out there for like a year and nobody sniffed it. I actually put it on eBay for more money because of the fees, and then it got snatched up in like a week. So it's like you truly never know.
Yeah, you don't. It's such an unknown market, and the current situation with the team plays a factor in it. If the team is good, prices go up, desirability goes up. You get people coming from other teams' markets into ours to try to do some We saw it in our group last year, the year before. Somebody in a different group sold a gamer. Guy bought it pretty cheap and then instantly came into our group and was like, "Hey, only reason I bought this was to put it in your group and sell it for more money." And so that happens. But I think if you're going dollars to donuts, I've probably lost money on selling because I paid more for it at the time that I wanted it than when I was looking to sell it and move on from it. If you're going to be a stickler with your price and not be willing to take a potential loss, you're probably going to sit on an item a lot longer than you're anticipating, because there's no Beckett, no monthly price guide on these things. So if you've got a mentality of I paid $500, I'm not taking a dime less than $500, you might have to wait until that right seller or right buyer comes along.
And to piggyback off all of that too, drawing a little bit of a blank here, but just lost it. But bottom line is, just this isn't a hobby for it's a cutthroat hobby. You really get your hands dirty. You got to put the time in. You got to expect you won't get it back. Oh, this is what I was going to say, Zach. If you're one of those, there's two type of collectors out there too. There's people that buy stuff and never really move on from it, and it's kind of just in their collection for infinity, and that's cool. That's how a lot of stuff goes missing. Or there's people like me and you who, we don't like to sell, but if there's something out there, we will sell things. And people have to realize too, if you're one of those people, you're going to have to take pennies on the dollar sometimes, because if an item gets put on eBay and there's 7 days to bid on it, well, you don't really have time to, pussyfoot under the table and maybe not take a deal. No, you got to sell. And then you might undervalue something, but then it gets sold faster. So those are all aspects you got to get into it. Any final thoughts or words for this Man Cave Monday of memorabilia topics?
Oh, man. I don't know. I feel like we talked about a lot of stuff. No, I mean, the best thing to do is, get yourself in some of these groups. We mention the groups all the time. And even if you're not ready to buy, you can start learning about the items, whatever it is: jerseys, cards, action figures, artwork, just whatever it is. Get yourself in some groups with some people that have been doing it. Ask questions, familiarize yourself with the product. That way you won't find yourself making a bad decision or a decision that you regret because you were uninformed in the moment. There's so many variants. We've kind of gone through those different stages of jerseys on the show. Eventually we'll get up to where we can have some pictures and kind of show some differences and some telltale signs on things. But, we've seen people spend, there's team issued, game issued, because just the way they're listed on eBay, creamsicles 76, they've got, $4,000 on a Mike Evans. I mean, you might sit here and think, well, that's a good price because that's Mike Evans, but that jersey may not have ever been intended for Mike Evans. And now you got $4,000 in a jersey that isn't even intended for Mike Evans, and you're probably not going to get that out of it when you go to sell it down the road. But that might be a decision that you could have, made differently had you had some information on what the jersey is and where the value of those things are.
That's why you don't be afraid. If you're kind of new in the hobby or bursting into it, try and piggyback with a pro or veteran in it. Like when I started buying more and more, Zach, I remember I leaned on you at first sometimes, and you sold me a lot of stuff to begin with, and that was a big help. Just having somebody to talk to. Jake Jahimick was another one who would talk to me a lot, and David Ferrara, Matt Bauer back in the day, all those guys. And then you kind of returned the favor. Like I remember when Levi's and Tyrons of the world were getting into it, they would lean on me to help, and you just do the best you can. And that's kind of what's beautiful about this hobby. Yes, there are some people out there who are snakes looking to penny pinch and get you any way they can, but there are a lot of good-hearted people out there. You just got to find them, lean on them, and as Zach said, ask questions, because it could save you a lot of headache down the road. The last thing you want to do is buy a Mike Elstock game-worn jersey, and a decade later you find out it's barely a custom jersey or something along those lines, and you spend triple the price on it than what you should have. So Ask more questions, better than less questions. Piggyback with some veterans and help out the newbies once you become a veteran. Any last words, Zach, for the program here on a Man Cave Monday? Zack, Tampa Tones here on the Buccateers.
Just be patient with the OC search and hope that we get the right guy. But if your guy's not being interviewed right now, don't panic. There's a lot of time left. There's no deadline. I mean, I guess the regular season starting is a deadline, but there's no like we got to have him by the end of next week deadline.
I agree. There is no, you don't need to hire a guy by a specific date, make it worth it. Last thing you want to do is have too small of a pool and end up with the Grizzard. Remember, the more people in, the more potential staff hires they could be as well. So don't give up. We're here on the Buccateers. We're going to be bringing you guys news this off season. And when we do hire an OC, we will have an emergency show that day as well. So the Buccateers will be bringing you guys OC news, special teams news, quarterbacks coach news. We'll have it all here on the Buccateers. Could be a Monday, could be another day, but it could be Zack, Tampa Tones, J-Lo, any of the guys here on the Buccateers as we continue to lead you through an off season. We're not far away from our power hours returning, from our Legends of the Fall returning, just crazy things happening behind the scenes, but a lot of change coming in a good way. Zack here on the Buccateers. Have a great Monday, brother. Go Steelers. Let's go Frazier, right?
Let's go.
Let's go Rodgers, Frazier, Tomlin, and let's go Pittsburgh. Let's hope they have a run in him. But Zack, Tampa Tones, on behalf of the Buccateers, we'll see you guys back here on Saturday, but if not, maybe another day if we hire an OC or something. You never know. Until then, fire the damn cannon. We'll see. Peace,
Go
Zack.
Bucs.
Go Bucs. If this outro ever grow, we'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
That was awesome.
it was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. I mean, first NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, this is so cool to see. And it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccateers in the house tonight. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, dang, nothing's happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCann, still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on. and then come out and make
Let's
it.
do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccateers at wide receiver, Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccateers. You're tapped in, and here we go.